Jesus, I need a teacher. I need a teacher for life. And when I raised my head, there was this old lady who just beamed her eyes at me. And she said, everything will be all right. And I remember having this dream, I was in Darshan, and he comes with his chariot, and he tells me he can't see me right now.
Sairam, welcome to Sai SOUL 100, Stories of Unconditional Love. Our guest today is Sister Lizette Jaffri. Sairam, Lizette, thank you for joining.
Sairam, Pinapa, how are you?
Good, thank you. Please share your story.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. My journey with Swami started after I graduated from college. I had an emotional breakdown. It was a hard time. It was a very sad time for me, which led me to questioning everything I knew up to then, questioning my life, my purpose. At one time I was intensely praying, and the words came out of me. I was really in deep pain, and I cried out, Jesus, I need a teacher. I need a teacher for life. And at that time when I said that, I wasn't really sure what kind of teacher I was asking for. I just knew it was a teacher for life, because I had no concept of guru. Everything was, I was raised very Catholic, and I had no understanding of Eastern teachings or anything like that. So those words just blurted out of me. I need a teacher for life. So I had this friend who was my teacher in Catholic school. She was a nun. And at the time, I used to share my pain with her. And she said that she can be my spiritual guide. And I never responded to her. I felt, that wasn't it. So I just went about my life and just kept praying. And one day, it was a very sad day, and I was walking in Manhattan, and my head was down because I was crying. Tears were flowing from my cheeks, and I didn't want anyone to see me. So I was walking with my head down, and all of a sudden, this loaf of bread just appears right in front of my feet. Rolls down the sidewalk and lands on my feet, and I go down to pick it up, and when I raised my head, there was this old lady who just just beamed her eyes at me. She was like looking right through me, and she said, everything will be all right. And at that moment when I heard those words, I just knew it was God's voice speaking to me. And I gave her the loaf of bread. She went on her way, and I just kept walking, and I felt like my mind stopped, and I just knew something was happening. I just felt God just spoke to me. So I started to take like self-help classes, and I started Tai Chi one time, and the teacher there, when he did his introduction, he always introduced his spiritual master. And that's when I first heard of Satya Sai Baba, and I saw a photo of Swami. And from then on, I was gradually being drawn to Swami, and feeling this intense love, but at the same time, feeling kind of guilty and confused because, here I am, now I'm praying to this Indian teacher, which I didn't really know much of because I didn't really read books. So it was just this attraction, and then I started to had many dreams with him. But in the beginning, I was kind of hiding my pictures from my mother, because she was very Catholic, and one time she did see a photo, and she asked me about it, and I just said, oh, he's just someone I read, his books, just a teacher. So I used to kind of hide things. So I was feeling kind of, guilty and confused. I started to have many dreams, and my first dream was with Swami. I was sitting in a lotus position, and Swami was above, and he was just emanating so much love, and I was receiving so much love from him. And I woke up with such, feeling so loved and protected. And then he started to give me dreams with Jesus and himself. He was making me feel comfortable with him and reassuring me that there's no difference. So I was getting that message slowly through dreams. And one time I was invited to this meditation group with which I didn't know anything about. I didn't ask. I just went with someone who I just met and invited me. And when we went into the meditation room, um, I see a picture of Swami and Jesus. The same. This just kept appearing this message, Swami and Jesus, Swami and Jesus. So I felt really good there. Her name was Amrita Hayes. She was a devotee of Swami, and Swami gave her the name Amrita, and she started to tell me things about Swami. So I got much more comfortable. And then my first trip was in 1982, and from then on I took 7 trips. But Swami never gave me physical attention. He never looked at me, never gave me physical attention, which was very, very hard the first few trips. One time in Darshan, I was so devastated. How can this be? I've made so many trips and I've stayed for so many months, and I feel him so alive in me, but he doesn't look at me like we all do, right? We want his attention. So I left crying from Darshan. I was very devastated. I cried myself to sleep. And I remember having this dream that he came with his chariot. I was in Darshan, and he comes with his chariot, and he tells me he can't see me right now. And he started to console me. And then I woke from this dream feeling at peace with it. And then another time I wanted to bring Swami something. I was just feeling this how we feel we want to give something to someone we love. So I the thought came that I would buy him a pair of slippers, because I related as a daughter to my father. I knew Saul was bringing him slippers. So to me, that was kind of, you know, a special thing to bring slippers. So I went to the shops in the village, and I just went about looking for the special slippers, and shop after shop after shop looking for slippers. But and then I that feeling kind of got deflated, and my mind kicked in, and I just started to think, oh, Swami's not gonna take these slippers. What am I doing? This is silly. So um I just even skipped darshan, and I started walking, went on a long walk. Behind the stores, there's these houses that Swami has built for the village people that live there. So I was walking, and I saw this lady sewing out in front of her house with the sewing machine. Um, and I just stopped and looked at her, and she looked at me, and we smiled from afar. So then I just approached her, and she did knew a little English, so she invited me into her house, and she takes me to her puja room, and she reaches out in the puja, and she takes these pair of slippers and brings them close to my face, my lips. And she tells me these are Swami's slippers that he gave into her. And I just kissed them, and it was just such a touching moment, so special, because here I go, I'm looking for slippers, and then I let go of the idea, but Swami did not let go of the idea. He actually made it better. He brought me his own slippers. So that was a very, very sweet, sweet moment. So gradually, slowly, my expectations for his physical attention started dwindling. It was just too painful to just expect his attention and want an interview and want him to look at you. So that just became too painful. So that kind of forced me to turn inwards, to bring my turn my attention inside. Um, then I was slowly understanding that you don't need Swami's physical attention, to be close. I was slowly understanding this, and accepting it, So, whenever I was in darshan, whether I was far away or near, I would just take the opportunity to, I used to practice just breathing him in, just breathing him in every time he came out, and that became my practice during darshan. And I didn't expect him to call me ever, Um, and this was a really wonderful practice for me because I was just feeling a lot of satisfaction and peace from that, instead of, wanting and wanting him to take my letters. And even though he did take my letters quite a few times, but instead of wanting that attention from the outside, it brought a lot of satisfaction and peace, within me to just sit back, and just take in his darshan, so my prayers and my sadhana just kept intensifying in this manner, by looking inwards. And I have to say that the inner Swami for me was more real than the outer, you know. So even when I was away from Pujapati, I felt him so much closer, There was not all this distraction, external distraction. But yeah, so the relationship with Swami developed mostly through dreams. So I'm just going to share some dreams because that's the way, my relationship with him developed, and I couldn't talk of Swami if I didn't mention some of the dreams, So they were continuous, like for 3 years, I just kept having dreams like weekly, monthly, and um so I just feel like everything I wished for in the physical realm, during darshan, during everything I wished for, he really gave it to me in the dream, because I used to long for his, but namaskar, I used to watch people and I said, oh my God, that's just incredible. That must be such a wonderful, out of this world experience, so I used to wish for that. And in the dreams he gave me quite a few dreams with Namaskar, having Namaskar. One dream was just fascinating. He just had me kiss each toe, and every time I went down to kiss each toe, the feeling just got more, uh, more deeper, and this is this overflowing love, and every time I kissed each toe, it just got deeper and deeper, and that feeling lasted, that feeling of bliss, whatever you call it, oneness, just lasted in my waking life, for 3 days or 4 days. It just went on, Um, and that reminds me, when you texted me about, you know, you invited me to share it's Sai 100s. That was, think that was March 11th. Yeah, that was March 11th. You texted me, but that morning of March 11th, he gave me Namaskar, So I was kissing his feet. And then when you texted me, I just knew I couldn't say no. Usually I don't say yes, but this time I knew I had to say yes because it was just too, it wasn't a coincidence that he gave me Namaskar and you called, that day. Um, so he also gave me vibhuti in dreams, and sometimes he would put sequins in the vibhuti, and I would take the vibhuti and start taking out the sequins before I took it, which was sweet. He also, one time, he took my hands and put it against his lips. And then into my hands came this crystal ball. It was brilliant, this ball. And at the time I called it a crystal ball because now I know it's a lingam, but to me, at the time it was this crystal ball with a golden tint, it was just beautiful. It just came out of my hands, and that was a lovely dream, and many playful dreams, he had me feed him. he had me put him to sleep, um, you know, like playing playful dreams, giggling. Um, one time he had, he took me out to dance. He was dressed in this costume, and it was like a waltz dance. And when I looked down, my feet were, a child's feet on top of the feet of the adult, right? My feet was not on the ground. My feet was on top of his feet. So it was very symbolic, because it's like, you're just not just follow my footsteps, but let me carry you, that kind of message I got. So it was a very sweet dream. And one time he had me, well, I say he had me, but I was stroking I was stroking his hair and putting my fingers into his hair, and putting my cheeks against his cheeks, and it was very sweet. And then he looks at me and he says, "You treat me like a little girl," and so which was true. At that time, my relationship has matured and grown, but at that time in the beginning, it was like treating him like a child, and him treating me like a child, and so it was.
It seems like your relationship was very, very child-father-like relationship, yet friends, yet somebody who's carrying you through your journey. I cannot imagine how sweet these dreams must have been for you to experience.
Yes, yes, very sweet, and just making me, um, just taking away all the fears and all the doubts, and yeah, that's how it developed. Yeah, through dreams. Yeah, yeah, very sweet. Um, Another time he told me, in the dream, you don't say my name, and I said, but Swami, I'm thinking of you. And then he just started to think, and he was, yeah, yeah. So, it's like, I look at it like, if your child is always in your mind, right? Sometimes you don't have to say the name, right? Repeat the name. You just have them in the mind. You're visualizing them. You're visualizing their features. Their interaction with them. You're imagining, well, I never had an interaction with him physically, but I used to imagine having these interactions with him, in my mind. Like, yeah. So, I just wanted to say that, um, it's it hasn't always been easy, my life growing up. I have wonderful parents, they're loving parents, very religious, but you have your challenges and your difficulties growing up, right? So but he always made it easier. He always made it easier. I've had, during the year of 2015 to 2020, it was like 5, 6 years span. I lost my father, my two brothers, and my two cats, and I loved them all very dearly, and I buried them all. Um, and but I don't know, if I didn't have Swami, I think I would have broken down like as I did before I knew him, and yet when I broke down at that time, that's what brought me to him, so when you look at it, you know, it's all um it's all good, because the breaking down periods is what makes you cry out, for help. And right now in my life, I have my challenges at home, but I know it's so that I can practice, letting go of my ego, because there's a lot of ego there, and and to just grow, in more love and more selflessly, so challenges are there always, but he makes it so much easier, Yeah, I just find that having Swami always in mind, and intensifying that and finding ways, whether it's through prayer, through seva, through your work, everything, you do, intensifying it, making him, present, bringing him into every aspect of your life, everything falls into place. The worldly matters, spiritual understanding come at the right time, when you're ripe enough, and so that's my main focus, just to intensify my relationship with him more internally, and everything else will, does fall into place. Um, I'm just, reminded of, actually just last night we were honoring Brother Anil Kumar. Um, may he rest in peace. And he said something that just stuck. He said, I mean, we were watching this video, when he came to Manhattan, and he said, spiritualize life. He said, spiritualize life. There's nothing separate from the worldly and the spiritual. Life is spiritual. Just spiritualize it, and whatever you um, do it consciously and do it with love, and that just stood with me since last night, and also, I'm also reminded of Arvind, because I listen to him a lot, in
Arvind
the
Balasubramania.
yes, yes, on YouTube. I'm so happy that he'll be the retreat speaker this year. Um, he was sharing one time that Swami was speaking to the boys, and he said to the boys, if you think of me, I will think of you. And however intensely you think of me, that's how intensely I think of you. And that has really stuck with me because, you know, I'm just relishing that thought that he said that if, you know, you know, it's just so, I just feel it's such an awesome, thing, such an awesome feeling that Swami himself would intensely think of you as much as you would, put that effort into thinking of him and making him central in your life. So I just wanted to share that because um, that's that's my inner practice, to just keep him, very present,
And
within.
it's true. It's been in your life. That's been happening in your life without you even realizing it, right? You are thinking of him externally,
Uh-huh.
but then Swami comes into you in your dreams and gives you everything you want, everything you need, everything, simple things, big things, Pada Namaskar, allowing you to kiss his feet, the slippers, right? You wish to give him slippers, but he gives you the opportunity to have his slippers in that home that you didn't even know how to speak the language
Right.
with that lady in that home. And I love the fact that you said spiritualize life, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a way of life. That's what it is. And
Yes, yes.
very, very, very blessed to hear your story of how Swami gives you personal attention through
Mhm.
dreams and giving you the ability to strengthen your relationship internally so that you're not attached to his physical form. And it's
Right.
such a beautiful message right there. And also, just talking about difficulties in life, it's like in a marble, right? There's a statue in there, beautiful statue in there, and little by little you're chiseling it away, and chiseling, right? And then you get this beautiful marble statue out of it, right? And that's basically what's happening to you, right? Whether you knew
Yeah.
of Swami or not, he was chiseling, allows you to find him, and then him showing you and guiding you and saying, I'm there with you, right? And he's
Yes,
carrying you.
yes,
That dance with him where
yes,
you're on his
yes.
feet. I mean, what more do we
Yeah.
want?
Yeah, he goes, you know, he does everything to each one, right? What, um what each one needs, right? He just personalizes everything for each one, and it's just so beautiful how this God of ours, plays with us and brings us closer to him. Yeah.
And he's also giving you the knowledge that Jesus and Sri Satya Sai Baba, one God is one, right? It doesn't
Yes,
matter
yes.
which God we pray to, that feeling, that a sense of connection, deep connection with our dear Lord is one and the same, regardless of the form.
Yes, yes. And he knew exactly how to make me understand that, in the beginning, because I didn't know anything about, gurus or, or anything other than Catholicism, so he knew exactly how to bring that about and make me feel comfortable. Yeah.
Sairam, Lizette, thank you for being at Sai Soul 100 and sharing your beautiful story.
Oh, thank you so much, Pirava. Thank you for the opportunity. So,
Sairam, dear listeners, you have been listening to Sai Soul 100 with Sister Lizette Jaffri. I'm Prabha Swaminathan. Until next time, Jai Sairam.